So this is the PM dashboard. This is what most PMs see when they open up their DAX. Basically, as a project gets opened, it works its way through these project buckets. So as it's being opened up, it enters this bucket, it gets moved into an approval bucket, and the first place that I really work on it is going to be in the My Projects Approved bucket. It then goes into process, and then ready to close. Finally, accounting takes it to finished projects. The first place I really work on the projects is in the My Project Approved bucket. So I click on this. At this point, the project's opened. I have a project book, and I'm ready to look at the project and do an approval on it. So I'll just make this bigger. If I just pick a program here, say this Northrop Grumman program. So basically what I see here is a list of all of my projects that are ready to be reviewed and approved. Over here, I have all the documentation that is brought over from the quote. I click on that book, it opens up, and here I can access the RFQ, the quote that was sent out, any additional information, and the purchase order. So what I'm doing at this point is I'm going through this documentation as well as the hard copies that I have in the book, and I'm getting a good idea of what's going to happen in the program. I'm getting myself familiar with it, contacting the customer. Sometimes the AEs or the salespeople will also leave notes in here for added information. Once I have a good idea of sort of what this project is going to be about, what it's going to entail to run, I need to look and review the budget that the AE has created. So I come over here to budget estimate, and I look at the current budget. So this budget was built by the AE when it was quoted, and once it's made into a project, all of this is pulled over. What I'm doing here is I'm looking to see that the total number of hours for each of the line items is what I'd expect it to be. Also, if there's any purchases I'm expecting on the program. So up here I have I'm really interested in this original budget number right here. It's going to list out the total number of hours and the total cost associated with that, as well as for expenses and purchases. This fees line is typically used by the AEs for the CE portion of it, and it doesn't affect the budget, so we do not deal with the CE. So right now, I'm looking at the line items for the budget per category. So I have 2 hours of admin in this one, 9 for PM. So this is broken down into category. If I click activity, this will break it out into activity for each of the lines. So I can see how much the PM has on an engineering and setup, how much a senior tech has on the engineering and setup, and so forth. So this is where I'm really looking to see, is this number accurate? Is it going to take my senior tech 8 hours to complete the engineering and setup? I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at that through all of these activities and estimating if that is a realistic estimate. Again, I'm doing the same thing on purchases. Do I expect to buy a certain amount of equipment? It looks like they have quoted in some hardware for this, so am I expecting to have to buy hardware for a fixture? And is this the RIM number? If it's not, if there's something that I don't like at this point, I can go ahead and change that. If I think it's going to take my senior tech an additional 2 hours, I can actually adjust that over here. I can add 2 more hours to his setup. And I can do that throughout. The goal is to get my budget as accurate as possible to start with, to give me a good starting spot on the project. So I can do that. The other thing I can do is add a line. Right now, all I'm doing in this case is adding hours to a given line. Say I need an engineer. I don't have a line for engineers currently. I can add a line by clicking Edit in Grid. Once I've done that, I can click in here and I can go New. I can choose an activity, so I can say for engineering and setup, I think I need an engineer. And I think it's going to take him 2 hours. The rest of this will auto-populate. So right now, I've added 2 hours of engineering time to my setup, and I've added an additional couple hours to my senior technician. So at this point, I can say create budget revision. It's going to ask me for a reason. I can type something simple in there like engineer required for instrumentation. That's fine, just a quick description. And what you'll see is that's taken my original budget and it's added hours to my current budget and additional costs. I can do this exact same thing in purchases. I can add a line item in the same manner. I'm still editing in Grid, so I can continue to add a line. I can pick my activity. Yeah, let's just say I need some additional hardware. And let's just say it's going to cost me $100. Again, create budget revision, additional hardware required. So this is me adjusting the budget straight off the bat. This is stuff I know initially that I think was not perfectly accurate when the AE quoted it. So now I'm happy with my budget. The next thing for me to do is to move the project into process. Right, to do that, I go to project stage, in process. So that will remove it from this queue. I can now close this. And that will have moved it from my project approved to my project in process. Okay, so this is where the majority of my work is done. My project's in process. This is all active projects going on right now. So this is the same, it's the exact same format as the previous page. Again, you have your documents here, You have all your project information here. You have your same budgeting information over here, and tools over here. A couple things that basically take the project through to completion. One of the most common things would be a COS that occurs. Let's go find Northrop because that's the one we were working on. This is again the project we were just working on. So assume something happens in the project. Maybe the customer fails. We want to do a retest. There's going to be a COS, a change of scope. In order to do that, I come over here to create change of scope. And it opens up this wizard. This takes me to 4 different areas of my project. Right here I have my purchase order, my activities. These are all my line items. The contract value. This is the cost associated with all my line items. And then the budget. So at this point, I'm assuming that the customer has approved the COS. I have a new purchase order, or I have a revised purchase order, and I'm ready to enter it in. Right now, the first step would be to adjust the purchase order value. I'm assuming that they're adding just, let's say this is an easy test. We're going to just say it's a $1,000 COS. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add $1,000 to this number. The next step would be to add the new activity. To do that, you add new. You can title this whatever you want. COS 1 temperature retest. How about? It's going to assign an activity number. You can assign a duration. And then just give it these categories. These don't seem to have too much effect. Okay, so now the activity is there. Now I need to add a contract value to that. So again, I hit new. Just put today's date or whatever date the PO came in. I'm going to add the line item number, which in this case would be 8, or it may depend on how their PO is laid out. I now select the PO. This is going to give me this PO here. I could potentially have multiple POs, so I'd have to choose which PO you're on. So I'm going to choose that one. This is the activity that I just entered above, so it's going to give me a drop-down. I can select the activity I just added. And then for the transaction text, I typically just use the same title. You can add something else if you want to help you out later on. And then here you assign the value of the COS. So in this case, we're adding $1,000. And then just take care of these categories again. Okay, so now we've added the contract value. Now it goes to adjusting the budget for the work that's going to be added. So I now need to add a line. So again, I hit new. You can put today's date. Button. Okay. This is going to be your activity again. So that will be a drop down. And then this is going to be who's working on it. So I'm probably going to say tech. It's going to be a nice simple test. Not too difficult. I'm going to say 1 hour setup, 1 hour breakdown, and an hour with data. How about? So I'm going to say it's going to be 3 total hours. And now I've got that tech line in my budget. All that's left to do is hit submit. And you will now have that in your project. So if you go to contract value, can see your COS is now here. Your contract balance has been raised. And the budget should now be changed as well. So my current budget has again gone up to now 60 hours and some additional costs. Okay, the other main part of working in this window is going to be just general review of budget. At least once a month, if not more, I'm going through multiple systems, VLab, DAX, a variety of spreadsheets that I use, the O25 report, and I'm doing this to track the status of the program. As the project begins to work, you'll start to see actual dollars hitting the job. So this is actual hours and actual dollars associated with those hours. And same with purchases. You'll see actual purchases begin to hit the job. Using all of those tools that I just mentioned, I'm reviewing the budget, the current budget, and where I actually am to see if I'm on track. Is the remainder of the budget enough to complete the project? If no, then I need to adjust the budget. In order to adjust the budget, it's done in exactly the same way as I showed you previously. Basically, you are adjusting the total number of hours. You can do that by going to breaking it into activity and adjusting this number here. I'm really looking every time to find out how many hours I still need to complete a certain part of a certain activity. So if waterproofness has 1 hour budgeted, that's not a good example. Here we go. Waterproofness has 2 hours budgeted for a senior technician, and I know that it's halfway complete, and I already have 2 hours against the job. I'm going to add at least another 2 hours, or however many hours I think it's really going to take. So I'll go through these line items and make sure that is where I think everything should be. Alternatively, you can do it on a sort of a higher level than that and just look at these hours here. I can, again, if I think I need more senior tech hours, I can go over here and I can say I need 10 more hours to complete the program. By doing that, it's going to distribute those 10 hours over every activity here. If I am specific about which activity, I can adjust the hours in this location. Exactly the same thing can be done on your purchases. Is there some new material that I didn't realize I was going to have to buy? Did I run out of a certain fluid that I thought we had, and we have to purchase that? Here I can add a new purchase. I have to click Edit in Grid. Click in here, Add New. Task. Let's do it on our COS since that's new. We have some additional hardware we need to buy. And this is actually a larger purchase. This is a $500 purchase. additional hardware required. I can be more specific and say large fixture plate. Okay. Say closed. So again, this has adjusted my budget. This is now what I think it will take to complete the project. So throughout the project, I'm going through and I'm deciding what do I need to, what do I still need to complete, and I'm comparing that against what is left in my budget, essentially the actuals minus the current. If there is not enough, I need to add more. Same on hours. So finally, once the project is completed, I've had my budgets up to date throughout. It's time to invoice. I go to invoice processing, and this will show me all the line items in my project. I can choose to bill individual lines, invoice individual lines by selecting them here, or I can choose to invoice the entire program by clicking there. And I would then click Create Invoice Proposal. You'll see that all the lines disappear. Whichever lines I select, it will pull those ones out and it will create the invoice. I then have to go to Edit Invoice Proposal. And this, if I click on contract value here, this is what's going to show me everything, all the information that's in the invoice. And I can change some of this stuff. Say you want to add a little note, I can do that as well. And that will show up on the invoice. If I'm happy with the way everything looks, I go back to Overview and I click Review. That lets accounting know that it's ready for review and to be sent out to the customer. Once I click that button, I can close everything out. And the final step of each project, at least from the PM standpoint, is that I now click Ready to Close. By clicking Ready to Close, as you can see, it will remove all groups and employees assigned to the selected project. That means that no more costs can be entered on the project. The employees are no longer able to charge their time to the project. I click Yes. That also signifies to accounting that the remainder of the project value can now be recognized. The project is now complete and ready to be finished. This should disappear out of this group. There it goes. And it's now moved into my projects ready to close. That really is the final step at this point. Accounting